Hi, I'm Rachel, and I'm here to participate in the BookTube SFF Babbles conversation on genre benders. The BookTube SFF Babbles are a series of prompts put out by the folks at the BookTube SFF Awards to keep us engaged. My latest Babbles video was a reaction to this year's shortlist, which I will link down below. I also shared in that video the particular categories that I chose to read so that I could vote this year. But with everything going on with the coronavirus, I may have to renege on that. Because I'm reading for fantasy and short fiction, and so far it goes like this. I've read one book each in those categories. I'm in the middle of one book each in those categories. But I don't currently have access to the third books in each of those categories. And with my local libraries closed due to the coronavirus situation, I don't know if I would get them in time for voting. And I'm just not sure I want to buy either of those books. So long story short, I may not be voting this year at the BookTube SFF Awards after all, which, for me, I'm disappointed. But be that as it may, I still want to participate with the prize somehow. So here I am with this video. I debated a bit. I feel like I have more difficulty because I don't read as much SFF as a lot of people do, and I wasn't sure about what I could choose for this topic, but I have ultimately chosen 3 books that I hope will fit the bill in. Number 1 is His Dark Materials, the trilogy by Philip Pullman. Granted, it's been 10 years since I've read this trilogy, and I'm mostly obsessed with it right now due to the HBO BBC adaptation. But it's definitely bendy. His Dark Materials is a series about religion. And irregardless to whether or not you think fantasy and religion are the same thing, there's a particular caveat about these books. Pullman is retelling, or more accurately, retwisting the meaning of the epic poem Paradise Lost by John Milton. The series title even comes from Paradise Lost. Unless the Almighty Maker them ordain his dark materials to create more worlds. Sounds like Portal fantasy to me. For number 2, I have Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell. Again, I feel like kind of a fraud because I like the adaptation more than I like the book. I just feel like the characters and the themes popped more on the silver screen. But anywho, this is also easy hanging fruit for the genre bender question. This book is literally several stories mashed into one, or more accurately, they're nested stories because they're all connected. 2 of them are science fiction stories. One is a dystopia about the subjugation of cyborgs, and the second is post-apocalyptic with humans living in a primitive situation, or some humans living in a primitive situation, but they do get visits from other humans with far more advanced technology. And then the other 4 stories are as follows. We have a 19th century nautical travel adventure. We have an interwar drama about a young composer trying to establish himself. We have a pulp fiction thriller about a 70s reporter attempting to uncover a corporate scam. And then we have a humorous late 20th century satire about a man who escapes from an abusive nursing home. And finally, we have the last one by Alexandra Aliva. Even in the best of times, I wanted to go for something with a speculative element that wasn't so extremely sci-fi or fantasy, that this is about something that could happen but hasn't happened yet to people on Earth, but that's an even more tough sell now than it was when the book was published. Because the speculative element has to do with a pathogen that wreaks havoc on the world, though it's technically more of a Station 11 variety than what we're dealing with now, so even worse, at least from what I remember. But the bendy part has to do more with normal contemporary elements, namely that our protagonist Zoo is partaking in a Survivor-esque reality TV show. And she thinks that the breakdown of society is part of the game. Mileage may vary, especially now, about how realistic this is, but I think there's something to be said about how this is a critique of today's society. Social media and a populist shift in various governments have sort of muddied the water when it has to do with the dissemination of information. And then we have reality TV, which I have a lot of feelings about, mainly that I think it's a microcosm of some of our worst traits as humans. You know, it's billed as real life, but it really isn't. It's heavily scripted. And it's designed to make people, both the participants and the viewers, feel isolated and distrustful. Or at the very least, extremely judgmental and viewing people as archetypes rather than, you know, fully three-dimensional and, you know, those perhaps less Survivor-esque reality TV shows. But I think it's important to challenge all of this with fiction and to come together with empathy in how we view each other. Okay, soapbox removed. That's all I have for now. And I will link to the reviews for these 3 book reviews down below. In the meantime, I hope you're all continuing to do well in your social distancing situations, and I hope that you are all healthy. I know that things are continuing to change at a rapid pace, and we don't seem to be nearly out of the woods yet. Earlier today, my governor in Maryland just held a press conference, and in part he is closing all non-essential businesses starting at 5 today. I work in DC, and I'm still not sure if this is going to affect me even more than it is now. I'm down to working 3 days a week because I can't telework, so I do have to commute into the city, but the metro is also scaling back and very much encouraging people to stay home as much as possible. So I'm already thinking of ways to change my commute a little bit to be on the metro a little bit less if I'm even allowed to go in, but that's where I am right now. This very much feels like a good time to be reading science fiction and fantasy, either for escapism or to understand how we may survive in extreme times. So relatedly, I will also link to the BookTube SFF awards down below because they're still going strong and there's been some fun discussion in the Discord group. So check it out. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time.